There were no special cases in my life that I could talk about. Life was ordinary, no better, but no worse than others. The only thing I could boast about was my desire to work. I always tried to break out into people, although initially I was far from the best conditions. My parents left me at a very young age. It was an accident, a car accident. I don't really remember them anymore, and I didn't have any other relatives. Therefore, from an early age, I had to achieve everything myself, even the elementary conditions of life in society. I was actively involved in sports and could not imagine a day without a morning run. And I liked to spend my evenings reading detective stories or watching thrillers. I enjoyed diving into these stories, but for me, it was no more than a simple hobby. I understood that in real life this hardly happened to anyone, and I never thought that a similar story could happen in my life. I had few friends, but still in this company I felt happy and needed. We often chose a variety of places where we could meet and spend a free evening. But sometimes, even in the most fun moments, I sometimes felt empty. I didn't have enough of a loved one next to me, but I always tried to discard such thoughts. I had a good job, my friends. I reassured myself that not everything was so bad. And in a relationship, I was not successful. I was very timid and did not like to be imposed on people. Therefore, in order to get to know someone, to approach and speak first, there was no question. But one day, everything changed. My world turned upside down. One day, my company and I decided to have a New Year's Eve party. We booked a table in advance in a prestigious restaurant where an excellent show program was planned. When we got there, we did not wait for hot dishes, but started drinking champagne. Clinking glasses, splashing champagne, subdued lights, and great music, all this made us smile and be happy. There was no way to lose our good mood. But after a while, out of habit, I decided to retire. I needed a few minutes to put my thoughts in order, get a little sad, and return to my cheerful company again. After a few minutes alone, I could get rid of all the thoughts that could prevent me from having fun. I went out onto the terrace and leaned against the railing, peering into the evening landscape of the fading sun. And then, very quietly and imperceptibly, Leah approached. She apologized and asked if it would hurt me if she just stood by, because she saw my thoughtful look and did not want to interfere. I smiled and politely told her that it wouldn't hurt me. After a couple of minutes of awkward silence, she spoke to me, and speech poured out of me like water from a spring. I myself did not expect, but we talked simply and not forcibly. Leah was also with the company and, like me, decided to retire for a while. Suddenly, we decided to leave the party and take a walk alone. I apologized to my friends that I had to leave them. They noticed Leah, who was already waiting near the exit and did not take her eyes off me. And everyone patted me on the shoulder in unison, saying that I finally met someone and forced me to get ready quickly, as the girl was waiting. That evening, we walked along the alley, visited several cafes, and walked like that almost until the morning. 3 years after our first date with Leah, we already lived together in my apartment. Our relationship was great. I continued to develop and achieved a decent cash income. We played a magnificent wedding. Leah had just a delightful wedding dress, which she could only dream of before. After a loud celebration, we immediately went on a honeymoon to bright and exotic places that will forever remain in our memory. Soon my savings allowed me to buy a great private house and a fancy car. Later, for my birthday, I gave Leah a luxury car. We didn't need anything. I had enough money for chic restaurants and for trips around the world, while I had a decent amount of money in my account. So I felt immensely happy. I achieved everything that I wanted. But the extravaganza of success was not long. Soon I began to feel that I was not well. I've never felt like this before. I got worse and worse every day. My health has always been all right. I took care of it. And then for a few days, I was so knocked down that I could hardly walk. Leah said that she should immediately contact her good doctor friend. He has his own clinic, and we went to this clinic. They did all the necessary tests there. They said that some rare disease had begun to manifest itself, and it was better to stay in the clinic under the supervision of doctors. There was nowhere to go, and I agreed. They gave me some drugs, but I didn't get better. My hair even began to fall out. Leah visited me and reassured me that soon I should feel better, but it did not get easier. One evening, me were very uncomfortable. It was not only in poor health. My inner instinct told me that something was wrong here. I didn't have enough air and I just suffocated in the ward. Suddenly, I decided to quietly go to the roof of the hospital to get some fresh air, although the doctor strictly forbade me to move. Climbing to the roof, I grabbed the phone to dial my friend and chat. I walked carefully along the corridor, and in my friend I saw an ajar door from which light came out. As I got closer, I heard moans. I felt embarrassed. Perhaps one of the staff decided to have fun. I did not want to interfere, so I tried to quickly sneak past. But when the crack of the ajar door flashed before me, it seemed to me that it was Leah. I smiled and thought that this could not be, and to make sure, I decided to go back and look again. Through this gap, I really saw Leah lying half naked on the table. And at that moment, this doctor, who was terribly polite and helpful with me, constantly smiled at me and reassured me. I don't even know how to describe the feeling when I saw them. It was anger and despair in one bottle, denial of what he saw, a complete misunderstanding of what was happening. At first, I was about to burst into the office and cut this doctor's skull with my crutch, but in the groans of Leah, I suddenly heard that everything should end soon. I would be gone and all my property would go to her, and then she and this doctor would be chic. And the doctor rolled his eyes with pleasure and also began to voice his dreams, what he would do with my money. And then it began to dawn on me that the essence is not just in treason. They wanted to poison me. I quickly turned on the camera on my phone and started recording a passionate video. Soon it all ended, and they discussed the situation with me again. It sounded like a sincere confession. Leah asked why I was still alive because she added the drug daily, which the doctor advised did everything according to the instructions. He said that it was really strange. This drug should have killed me a long time ago. I just had a strong, healthy heart. Then this doctor said that Leah should not worry because I had only 2 days left. In this state of shock, I accidentally creaked the door and they turned towards me. Leah began to scold the doctor for not closing the door and asked to check if there was anyone behind the door. I quickly crawled away into a dark corner of the corridor where I could not be seen. The doctor looked around and returned to the office, closing the door. I realized that I did not have much time and I had to run. Hiding from security and local staff, I still managed to get out of the clinic. I called my friend who came and picked me up. I tried to explain as clearly and as quickly as possible what had happened to me since there was very little time left. I went to another hospital where I was urgently given the necessary tests. The doctors were shocked when they saw the test results. I remembered the name of the drug that Leah and the doctor talked about. My real doctor quickly understood everything and prescribed treatment. My life was saved. I immediately asked a friend not to tell my wife anything. Later, I hatched a diabolical revenge plan that would make those bastards suffer. We agreed to fake my death. Leah was told that I was found in a ditch not far from the clinic where she and the doctor kept me. Everything was believable. I immediately imagined how she rejoices and rejoices. Already, for sure, with the doctor, they are preparing for the registration of the inheritance. Leah knew that, apart from her, I had no more relatives, and since she is my wife, everything should have gone to her. While these bastards were celebrating their victory, I was gradually recovering. Before my funeral, the body was allegedly handed over for a forensic examination to determine the cause of death. I had time to prepare for the funeral show, which will be very colorful. On the day of my funeral, everything was prepared in the best possible way. Everything had to look natural so that the surprise was a success. The crowd hired by me gathered. This bitch did not hesitate to show up at the funeral right with the doctor. She stood and tried to squeeze out tears from herself, which supposedly grieves very much. Suddenly, a message came to her phone. She opened it and saw the sexual intercourse of her and the doctor filmed by me on the phone, as well as vivid statements about my murder. She watched the video and did not understand what was happening, where it could come from and who could film it. But suddenly, Leah jerked sharply, feeling my hand on her shoulder. I quietly crept up behind, put my hand on my shoulder and whispered in my ear, "How do you like the video?" She turned around, saw me, and turned pale. I told her, "You cannot see my riches, you lying creature. All that awaits you and your lover is prison." I handed over the materials and evidence to the police in advance. The doctor, seeing me, rushed to run, but it was already too late. A police car blocked his way, and this couple was handcuffed and taken away. In court, I managed to get a very long prison term for Leah and her accomplice. I quickly recovered and my life was no longer filled with feelings of loneliness. I enjoyed every moment of life and was in no hurry to find new love adventures.